Well, here's breakfast, Diet Coke, and here's what we got Friday morning. A lot of haze, very hazy. I'm going to find out where this is coming from. You can see quite a bit of Q there. It looks a lot more moist, probably higher relative humidity. As you remember yesterday, we saw that higher precipitable water coming up here. So yeah, we're turning on the tap here, getting things primed up.
All right, yeah, definitely hazy out there. And let's take a look at the 11:30 a.m. satellite photo for Texas. Remember those cloud streets we talked about yesterday? You can see them streaming northward across the Gulf Coast. And there's the sea breeze right there along the coast. And thunderstorms from that activity up in Oklahoma last night. If we run the satellite photo, you can see the sea breeze starting out right there along the Gulf Coast. This is about 11 in the morning. We run that forward a few hours, and you can see them puffing out a few towering cumulus. As the sea breeze moves north, the activity up in northeast Texas kind of dissipates. And the sea breeze continues moving north, putting out a few thunderstorms around the Crockett and Lufkin area. More new activity up in Oklahoma along that old frontal boundary. And then getting to the current hour, this is where we're at. I did ask about that haze earlier. Where did that haze come from? Most haze that we see in the eastern half of the U.S. originates from the Rust Belt. There's a lot of manufacturing up there. If we get high pressure set up across the southern U.S., it'll tend to move southward down to the Gulf Coast, and then the next day it'll circulate around back to Texas on the backside of that high, and then we see it kind of clouding up the skies here. Well, I'll look to see if that was the case using the GOES aerosol optical depth product. This measures the extinction of light from the surface upward to the top of the atmosphere. In other words, if less radiance reaches the satellite than it expects, then it flags those pixels. So these greenish and reddish pixels, these indicate area where there's haze problems. I don't see a whole lot to explain anything coming from Ohio. So I went to the reverse trajectory models. I did one for Dallas-Fort Worth. It said over the past week, the air parcels in the low levels have come from the Atlantic. There's no source of haze from the Atlantic. There's probably a few ships out there, but they don't put out near that much pollution. For Houston, the same story, coming from the Atlantic. For San Antonio, coming from the Atlantic. So no source from the Rust Belt. I even checked out Shreveport. Well, this one looks a little bit different, but still nothing in the Rust Belt. So I decided to take a look at the NOAA Aqua and Terra satellites and kind of do a little detective work, and I found that haze splotch right out here about 3 days ago. This is between Guatemala and Cuba. Now, there is a sun glint feature that you usually see on the middle of these swaths that come from the satellite, so we ignore that and we kind of look off to the edges. If I go back a day, June 29th, yeah, there it is right there over the Dominican Republic. Go back to June 27th. There it is out over the Atlantic. And then I go all the way back to June 24th, and wow, look at this. There's a big, this is dust. For June 23rd, I went to the surface maps, and I found dust storm. See those symbols? 1 7/8 mile in sandstorm, 2.5 miles in sandstorm, 4 miles in sand, 2.5 miles in sand, with gusty winds, sustained 20 and probably up to 30 knots. So this is, I think, the country of Mali. Apparently a lot of dust got picked up by the winds. The heavier particles settled out, and the very fine clays and stuff like that ended up getting lofted westward. And those can go quite a ways. So yeah, enjoy the African dust storm over Texas today. Looking at the soundings, it looks like Corpus Christi down there along the Gulf Coast has dried out quite a bit in the mid-levels due to that ridge that we had yesterday. There's still some pretty good moisture at the surface, but that's only enough to give us very spotty storms. Up in Fort Worth, you can see the cap that we had yesterday has gone away, starting to get a little bit of a tropical appearance. But the main thing that I'm seeing is this part of the sounding. You see that red line, how it leans over to the left? That's an indication of destabilizing air. So we got slightly cooler temperatures aloft moving in, and that kind of primes us for an increase in thunderstorm activity. Now, of course, we didn't get a whole lot in Texas today, but with a little bit of forcing along that old front to the north, we got storms going along the Red River, and of course a few in East Texas. If you think the weather's a little bit too hot, this is Antarctica right now. Top left number is the temperature in degrees Fahrenheit. So minus 105 at the South Pole, minus 103 at Vostok. Sounds like a lot of fun, doesn't it? Normally the the Antarctic temperatures would normally be a lot warmer. The thing is, you've got this ice sheet that's up to 2 miles thick, and that's a good insulator. So the heat that we have in the Earth that's stored up, that normally conducts into the atmosphere, that's completely shut down and stifled by the ice sheet. So you get some really crazy readings like that. Surface chart for Texas shows the southerly flow continuing from the Gulf. There is an area where the winds are a little bit different. See these flags here? In fact, they've got kind of a outward bowing appearance. This is outflow from the thunderstorms along the Red River. I can actually draw out an outflow bubble. It's probably going to look something like that. So this is all outflow air from thunderstorms, and I'll draw the thunderstorm symbol. Kind of hard to do this with a mouse. I tried using my tablet when I started this series, but there's a whole lot of lag and Cam Studio doesn't like it. To the north, though, there's a cold front up there. It's probably been kind of masked by the outflow, but that's the cold front that's stagnating to the north, and we'll probably see this stagnant pattern continuing with showers and thunderstorms developing late in the evening along the Red River and drifting down across northeast Texas, probably to Dallas, Fort Worth during the morning hours. Then during the day, I think tomorrow and on Sunday, we'll see the sea breeze moving north the way it usually does and kicking off showers that move up from the south. So pretty much anywhere east of I-35 is going to see some shower activity. Precipitable water for Saturday morning. This indicates the water vapor in the entire atmosphere. Pretty good bubble of purples moving on shore. So this is going to prime us with a little bit of extra moisture, move on shore, and so pretty much anywhere east of I-35 has got a risk of some thunderstorm activity over the weekend. Fortunately, I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of widespread stuff. So going to the 30,000 foot 300 millibar chart, this is for Friday today. When we get into a different weather pattern, I'm going to show you different charts, but during the dull summer months, 300 kind of covers everything. So the ridge, see that ISA height line? It's kind of backed off a little bit to the west. That's opening up a little bit of the capping getting rid of a little bit of that capping that we had. That's allowing a few of these thunderstorms to develop, the stronger flow moving across North Texas, kind of enhancing the thunderstorms up there. Moving into Saturday, flow increases a little bit along the Red River, so we're going to see thunderstorm chances go up a little bit along that area, Red River down I-20, I-30. So we may even get a few thunderstorms sneaking down to Waco and Palestine, and again, sea breeze getting going, that moves north, and that gives us another ingredient. Austin and San Antonio, I think those are going to stay okay for the most part. Then for Sunday, the ridge starts building back in, starts going a little bit to the east, so that's going to start gradually shutting things down. Probably have one more day of thunderstorm activity possible, scattered thunderstorm activity. And then for Monday, the ridge builds in. You can see that line moved all the way to Shreveport. So we're going to be bringing in some warm air aloft that'll start shutting things down and heating things up. And by Tuesday, we're underneath the ridge. Extends all the way up to Arkansas, keeps things shut down. Probably a few showers, maybe isolated to scattered along the sea breeze, but in the stronger flow, but those may not make it very far north due to the capping. That's the Texas weather forecast. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow on the 4th.
I've been spending all morning catching up on email. Got it down to 60 messages. Getting there. No boxes. Maybe UPS dropped these guys off. Putting together the outgoing orders. Every time I do this, every time I do the code lookup for books and type in S for scientific books, I gotta always look at this horses and asses. Who ships bovines by U.S. mail? Swine? I don't know. Mackerel? Scorpion? I guess I'm in the wrong field. There we go. There we go, some orders coming together. This one's actually going to Switzerland. Back in 2000, I used to pay $12 for this international postage rate. Got quite a few orders going out today. This is kind of unusual because there's back orders in here with that box that came in yesterday. This is going out to one of my viewers. Maybe you recognize that address. Got a hazy, cloudy sky here. 90 degrees. There's the Applebee's. I want to show you something here. Yeah, you see this spot here? About a month ago there was a shooting, probably a suicide by cop. I'm going to post the link in my description, but it's a little bit violent, so you might want to use caution about that. But it happened right here. I just found out about it last night. I had no idea that went on here. Well, I'm a big fan of history, and this is Fort Houston. This is one of the first U.S. structures in this part of Texas. It was here probably before the town. So this was all Native American country, and this is kind of where the encroachment of the white man started around here. We're heading home, and we're going to get this video edited and wrapped up, and if you enjoyed it, please click like and subscribe. You don't have to share, or you can do share and like and not subscribe, or whatever works for you. I got a more easygoing channel, so I'm not going to compel you to do all that stuff. Alright, we're rendering the video, and you can see it building right there on the thing, and there's all the tracks. So I use Sony Vegas to crank these things out. One last look at that African dust as the sun goes down, and there's a cardinal over there on the wire. I think that's a cardinal.